Dwayne Johnson was on YouTube. He was asked if he were to ever come back to the ring, who would it make the most sense, business-wise, for him to wrestle? And he said that he would love to get into the ring with Roman Reigns. And he would be more than happy to put his cousin over. Now, Rock against Roman Reigns is a match that I did not really care to see even a year ago. Let alone, I think a couple of years ago is when I first got that mailbag question about it. And it just was not a match that I really had any interest in seeing. I was kind of over the whole Rock at WrestleMania thing. They had done all the big matches with The Rock. I wanted to see Rock and Triple H at 32, and it didn't happen. And I was just over it. And the match just didn't have any appeal to me. Especially that version of Roman Reigns that we had back then, the babyface, smiley babyface Roman Reigns. I mean, the hell with that. I had no interest in that. This new Roman Reigns, though, screaming about being the tribal chief and being, I'm the head of the table, I'm the head of the family. Look, there's no bigger name for him to get in there and beat in the family than The Rock. Only thing is, I don't see it happening. His schedule is just not going to allow it. There have been at least 2 different WrestleMania matches that he was rumored for. The one with Triple H and the tag match they wanted him for. It was going to be him and Ronda Rousey against Triple H and Stephanie at 34. And both times, it fell through. It never materialized. They couldn't make it happen because of his movie commitments or insurance issues, whatever it was. It was movie related. If it were up to him, I'm sure he would do it in a heartbeat. I don't think WWE can really commit to, especially, let's say Roman is the champion, and that's going to be your title match at WrestleMania. I don't see how WWE can commit to a match like that, only to have Rock be forced by some movie studio to pull out. And then Roman is left with no opponent. So I'm going to say it doesn't happen. It's a nice idea. I would be down to see it, but I just don't see it happening. And speaking of The Rock, this is very cool. It was announced earlier this year that Ken Shamrock, who has been back with Impact Wrestling since September of last year, he would be inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame over Bound for Glory weekend. Bound for Glory takes place this year on October 24th. Shamrock threw a Hail Mary pass on Twitter on Friday. He tweeted The Rock to see if he would be willing to record an induction message for him. I guess with everything, maybe this will be either a virtual Hall of Fame ceremony, or I guess they figure The Rock isn't coming in for anything. But if they could at least get him to record a video, like a cameo. Rock is going to do a cameo for Ken Shamrock, then at least then they can use that. So he said, let me tweet The Rock and see. I guess he wasn't connected to him where he could DM him. So he just posted a public tweet. Everybody could see it. He said, hey, brother, I'm being inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. I would be very grateful if you could send an induction greeting. After all, I believe my time with you was my greatest memories in wrestling. Thank you. And 90 minutes later, The Rock responded in the affirmative. He said, congrats, my brother. Awesome news. I will take care of this and get it to you by this weekend. So yes, The Rock will technically be making his Impact Wrestling debut, inducting Ken Shamrock into the Hall of Fame next month. I love seeing that. Rock was Shamrock's greatest rival during his time in WWE. They feuded over the Intercontinental title. Shamrock beat him in the finals to win the King of the Ring in 1998. The one moment I will never forget was the chair shot on Raw. Ken Shamrock took an unprotected chair shot right to the face, right to the head. One of the all-time, probably top 2 or 3 most devastating chair shots that I have ever seen. And I don't mean devastating in that it caused injury, he was all bloody. He wasn't. He was actually okay. But when you watch it and you listen to it, I will never forget that. For as long as I live, I will never forget that chair shot. Now, the Undertaker chair shot to Mr. Kennedy, which I think may have been at the Survivor Series in 06 or 07 or something, that chair shot is probably maybe the sickest. And then the other one I think of is Jeff Hardy, the Jeff Hardy chair shot to Brock Lesnar's face in 2002. I will never forget the sound that chair made. But Shamrock, he talked to Chris Van Vliet last year about the chair shot. And he said that he told The Rock, he was in the back with him earlier that day. And he goes over to The Rock and he says, look, brother, I want you to hit me in the face with the chair. And he had to fight him on it. The Rock is like, I'm not going to hit you in the face with the chair. He goes, look, trust me. I want you to just do it. Just hit me in the face with the chair. Rock's like, I'm not hitting you in the face with the chair. And finally, Shamrock was able to talk him into it. And Rock made it very clear to him. He said, look, he goes, I'm going to lay this shot in. And Shamrock said, good, that's exactly what I want you to do. So they finally, they agreed to it. And they go out there. And if you remember, Shamrock is on his knees. And he's looking up at The Rock. And he's kind of motioning. And he says what he was telling him was, you better lay it in. Like, don't hold back. You better lay it in. Because the thing that Shamrock says he hated more than anything were these weak-ass looking chair shots. So he's like, give it to me. You better lay it in. And The Rock laid it in. He swung that chair, he hauled off, and he whacked him right in the face. And if you watch it, at the very last second, Shamrock says he tilts his head forward. So the brunt of the blow would be absorbed by his forehead. He goes, your forehead is the hardest bone in your body or the hardest bone in your head. So that's where he took the brunt of the shot. And he says he didn't get hurt at all. But he was thinking as he was laying there, he says, boy, am I grateful to be alive. Rock never really had a problem laying in those chair shots, did he? Doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like... Whenever I remember Rock giving chair shots to people, poor Mick Foley, he never really had an issue laying those chair shots in. It wasn't like one of those Lance Storm ECW chair shots that he's still mocked for to this day. Hulk Hogan couldn't swing a chair to save his life. But The Rock might have been the real chairman of WWE. But that was the first one. The second chair shot to the face that he gave Shamrock was every bit as brutal. Shamrock was having a match, I think it was on Raw against Farouk. It was one of the Nation members. And Rock came in and same thing. He hit him right in the face with the chair. Boom! Popped right off his face. I can remember the King cackling in the background. Shamrock is out of his mind. You'd have to be. Tell people to hit you right in the face with a chair, you'd have to be out of your mind. But also very underrated. I think very underrated. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves as a wrestler. He'll be more remembered probably for his MMA career and some other things that he probably would not rather be remembered for, MMA-wise. But he was a pro wrestler before he was ever an MMA fighter. And he was pretty good at it. And I wish more people were either around when he was a wrestler, because they probably hear, like, newer fans or younger fans now, they're like, Ken who? Where they watch Impact and they see he's a lot older now. He's in his, mid-50s probably. But Shamrock had a good run there for a few years. And don't ever forget, the reason we have tap-outs now in WWE is because of Ken Shamrock. It wasn't until Shamrock came in that all of a sudden, all these submissions, it wasn't a matter of, like, verbally submitting anymore. It was the tap-out. That was ushered in by Ken Shamrock. The Undertaker did an interview with Barstool Sports, and he was asked if the Last Ride documentary was done as a way to officially announce his retirement from the ring so that he couldn't change his mind. That would be the exclamation point. Once it's public and they've acknowledged that, okay, I'm done, this is it, it would just make it that much harder for him to kind of change his mind and go back on his word. I mean, look, the frickin' thing was called The Last Ride. So I would assume that was the idea going into it. He said that that was his thought process. He was thinking, look, I don't move the way I used to move. It's a watered-down version of what The Undertaker used to be. That's not what I wanted to ever become. He said it's like I needed somebody to put a bullet in there and put an end to it. That's where his head was at until it came time to show Vince McMahon the final 15 minutes of the final episode, and he said Vince did not like the ending at all, which is why that they had Undertaker decided to add the line in there about never say never in regards to a possible return. He says, obviously, as we get closer, I'm going to have that internal feeling like I should be getting ready for something as we get closer to WrestleMania season. And look, I understand that Vince McMahon is a promoter. At the end of the day, Vince McMahon is a promoter. And in his mind, he's probably thinking it's better to just leave it open-ended so people think maybe The Undertaker will come back. But there it is. I mean, if you had any doubt at all about why this man keeps coming back, Undertaker, if you give him the opportunity to keep coming back, he's going to say yes. He cannot say no. He cannot say no. If you push him, if you give him any reason, if you float a match possibility by him that he finds attractive, if you give it, it's like if somebody is trying to like kick a smoking habit, or somebody is in AA meetings and they're trying to get off the sauce, and you keep, like, you're sitting next to them and you got a glass of scotch and you just keep pushing it towards them. Hey, here, take a sniff of this. Eventually, that person is probably going to cave. You're not doing them any favors. It's like a drug. So if there was ever any doubt about why this guy keeps coming back, money aside, Vince McMahon seems determined to drive this guy into the ground until he physically cannot walk to the ring anymore. And even then, they'll probably just put him in a wheelchair and send him all the way down the ramp. Remember how he drove the motorcycle down to the ring at WrestleMania X7? Here, let's put him in the wheelchair. Whee! And they'll wheel The Undertaker all the way down to 80 yards, down to the ring. Hopefully they have one of those stoppers to stop him when he gets to the bottom of the ramp. Then he goes flying right into the ring under the bottom rope. That's how they're going to get The Undertaker into the ring. It could be years before they're even able to run full stadiums again. The guy will be almost 60 years old. The Boneyard match is as perfect an ending as he is going to get. Let the man rest in peace.